So you want to own a truck dealership, buy some land, build a giant showroom, park dozens of expensive trucks outside, hire a sales team, watch them drive away one by one, then count the money. That's the picture most people have in their heads. Land. Trucks.sales.profit. But here's the number that destroys that picture. A dealership can sell a commercial truck worth $8,000 and make less money from that sale than it can make simply changing the oil on that same truck over the years that follow. That sounds backwards. It isn't. It's the entire business model. Because most people think a truck dealership is a truck selling business. It isn't. The truck is the beginning of the relationship. The money comes from everything that happens after the keys change hands. To understand why. We first need to understand why truck dealerships exist. The manufacturer builds the truck. The dealership brings that truck into a local market. Peterbilt doesn't normally sell directly to the customer. Freightliner doesn't operate every local showroom itself. Volvo doesn't run every repair bay. Mack doesn't maintain every truck it has ever produced. International doesn't build a service center beside every highway. Instead, the manufacturer builds the vehicle. Then an independently owned dealership sells it, finances it, repairs it, stocks its parts, and supports that truck for years after it leaves the factory, sometimes for 15 years or more. Why would a manufacturer give away so much of the customer relationship? Because a commercial truck is not like an ordinary car. When a family car breaks down, it is inconvenient. When a commercial truck breaks down, it becomes a financial emergency. A trucking company can lose real revenue every hour that a truck sits idle. A driver cannot deliver freight. A construction company cannot move equipment. A logistics operator cannot complete its schedule. The truck stops earning money, and the customer immediately needs someone nearby who can fix it. That means the buyer isn't really purchasing a truck. They're purchasing access to an entire support system, a repair shop, a parts inventory, experienced technicians, diagnostic equipment, warranty support, emergency service, and a local company that understands the market. Building that infrastructure in every city would be enormously expensive for a manufacturer. It would require real estate, employees, service centers, parts, warehouses, and enormous regional risk. So manufacturers push that responsibility onto dealers. In exchange, dealers receive territory rights and franchise protection. The dealership becomes the manufacturer's local face. The manufacturer supplies the product. The dealer supplies the infrastructure, and both sides need each other. That relationship becomes especially interesting when the economy changes. During a strong year, the manufacturer has more power. It controls the supply of new trucks. It influences pricing, and desirable inventory can be directed toward dealers hitting sales targets. But when the market weakens, the balance changes. A factory thousands of miles away cannot repair a broken axle at 2 hours in the morning. It cannot send a technician to a truck stranded beside the highway. It cannot replace a critical part immediately. The local dealer can. That's why franchise protection laws exist in many states. They help prevent manufacturers from simply eliminating an independent dealer and opening a factory-owned location directly beside it. Now let's look at what it actually costs to become one of these dealers, because the investment is nowhere close to what most people imagine. You don't just need a building. You need between 10 and 25 acres of reinforced heavy load pavement. That pavement has to support commercial vehicles weighing more than 80,000 pounds. And the showroom is almost the least important part. The real business is hidden behind it, the service facility. A serious truck dealership can require 15 to 40 service bays. It needs heavy-duty lifts, bridge cranes, diagnostic computers, specialized tools, and equipment tied directly to the manufacturer's systems. Then comes the land. The source estimates land alone at roughly $5 million to $12 million. Construction can add another $7 million to $18 million. Specialized diagnostic equipment can add $1. $5 million to $3.5 million. And before the first truck is sold, you may need another $2 million to $5 million sitting in parts inventory. Those parts aren't decorative. They are the reason a fleet can get back on the road instead of waiting days for a shipment. A serious parts department may need between 4,000 and 6,000 individual components, covering engines, drivetrains, brakes, and other major systems. Then you need cash reserves, roughly $2 million to $4 million, just to support payroll, insurance, and operating expenses while the dealership establishes itself. Add everything together, and startup capital can reach roughly $18 million to $44 million before a single truck has changed hands. That's when you realize something important. The trucks aren't even the largest part of the investment, and the manufacturer still controls another piece of the operation, the image program. Manufacturers can dictate how the facility looks, how many service bays it needs, which equipment must be installed, and which components must remain in stock. These requirements aren't casual suggestions. A dealer that falls out of compliance can put its franchise agreement at risk. So even though the dealer finances the building, The manufacturer can effectively determine how that building operates. Then comes another surprise. Even after spending tens of millions of dollars on the dealership, the trucks sitting outside may not actually belong to the dealership in the traditional sense. This is where floor plan financing enters the picture. A new commercial truck can cost roughly $120,000 to $190,000 at wholesale. Imagine a lot holding 50 to 100 trucks. Buying that inventory entirely with cash could require between $6 million and $19 million. Almost nobody wants to tie up that much capital, so the dealership borrows against the inventory. A bank or manufacturer-backed lender finances the truck. The dealership takes delivery. The truck sits on the lot, and the dealership pays interest every day until it sells. Imagine one truck worth $160,000 at an interest rate of roughly 7.5%. The dealership pays about $30 every day just to keep that truck sitting there. Leave it unsold for 120 days. You've burned close to $4,000 in interest before counting anything else. And the truck hasn't produced $1 of profit. In fact, the longer it sits, the more dangerous it becomes. Eventually, lenders can require curtailment payments. Those payments force the dealer to begin paying down part of the truck's financed value as inventory gets older. So, an unsold truck isn't passive inventory. It is a financial meter running in the background. Every day, every month, every unsold unit costs money, and that leads to the first major secret of the truck dealership business. The showroom can generate enormous revenue without generating the majority of the profit. The truck gets the customer through the door, but the real economics are waiting behind it. Look at the economics differently. New truck sales can represent roughly 45% to 55% of total dealership revenue, sometimes more than half, but the same department may produce only around 12% to 18% of total profit. Half the revenue, less than a fifth of the profit. That gap explains almost everything. So where does the money actually come from? Start with financing. When a customer buys a truck on credit, the dealership usually isn't lending the entire amount itself. Instead, it acts as the middleman between the buyer and a commercial lender. The lender gives the dealership a wholesale rate. Suppose the buy rate is 7%. The dealership negotiates a customer rate of 8.5%. The difference is roughly 1.5 percentage points. That spread is earned across the life of the loan, and because the dealership didn't have to manufacture the truck, repair the truck, or build new infrastructure to earn that financing income. The margins can be extremely high. The source estimates financing margins between 85% and 98%. A single finance deal can generate roughly $3,000 to $8,000 in profit. In some cases, the finance office can make more money from arranging the loan than the showroom made selling the truck. Then the finance office offers another product: protection. Commercial trucks can travel 100,000 to 150,000 miles per year. A major engine or emissions failure outside the factory warranty can cost between $20,000 and $40,000. That creates an obvious fear for the buyer. Unexpected repair bills. So the dealership sells extended protection plans. It can also sell guaranteed asset protection if the truck is totaled and the insurance payout doesn't fully cover the remaining loan balance. GAPI protection covers that difference. These products protect the customer. They also create very attractive margins for the dealership. The source places protection product margins around 60% to 75%. Then there are physical add-ons, auxiliary power units, aerodynamic fairings, fuel efficiency equipment, telematics systems, and that last one is especially powerful. A telematics sensor can detect a warning code before the driver even realizes there is a problem. The dealership can receive the alert, the service department can contact the customer, and a future repair job can return to the same building that originally sold the truck. That's when the dealership starts becoming something much bigger than a retailer. It becomes a recurring revenue machine, and that brings us to the department that may matter more than the showroom: service. Truck sales rise and fall with the economy. Truck repair doesn't stop nearly as easily. If trucks are working, they need maintenance. If trucks are old, they need even more maintenance. The dealership can charge customers roughly $160 to $250 per hour for labor. The technician may earn roughly $35 to $55 per hour. That spread creates substantial gross margin before overhead. Then comes the flat rate system. Manufacturers publish standardized repair time guides. Suppose a repair officially takes 4 hours. An experienced technician completes it in 2.5 hours. The dealership can still bill the customer for the standard 4 hours. The faster the technician works, the more productive the service department can become. Warranty work adds another layer. Instead of the customer paying, the manufacturer pays the dealership for approved repairs. The labor rate may be lower than full retail, but the volume is predictable. Warranty jobs keep technicians working, parts keep moving, and customers keep returning to the same service center. This is where a powerful financial metric appears, absorption rate. It measures whether service, parts, and collision operations can generate enough gross profit to cover the dealership's entire fixed overhead. Mortgage or lease, payroll, insurance, taxes, utilities, everything. The formula is simple: fixed overhead divided by gross profit from service, parts, and collision operations. The strongest dealership groups can exceed 125% absorption. Some reach around 136%. That means the service and parts departments can cover the entire building's fixed expenses before a single new truck sale is counted. At that point, truck sales become the bonus, not the foundation, and the parts department becomes another critical piece. It behaves less like a retail store and more like a regional distribution warehouse. Truck fleets cannot afford to wait 3 days for a brake component. They need the part now. That urgency creates pricing power. The dealership can generate margins, around 28% to 36% on parts inventory that moves continuously through the business. The parts counter actually serves 3 customers: the dealership's own technicians, independent repair shops and owner-operators, and fleet maintenance operations that receive parts through dealership delivery vehicles. The third channel can transform the dealership into a regional supply network without the customer ever entering the showroom. Then comes used trucks. This is where the dealership gains another advantage. New trucks come with manufacturer pricing structures. Used trucks are different. A fleet trades in several 4 to 6-year-old trucks. The dealership's appraisal team evaluates their condition. Tires, wear, mileage, resale demand. Then the trucks enter the dealership's own service operation. They are reconditioned, inspected, prepared for resale. The dealership earns internal service revenue first, then it sells the truck again. That means the same vehicle can produce profit twice, once through reconditioning and again through resale. Used truck margins can reach roughly 10% to 18%. That can outperform the margin on a brand new unit, and trucks that don't fit the local market can move through wholesale channels or digital auctions. That allows the dealer to control inventory rather than becoming trapped with vehicles nobody wants. Then you reach the customers that can change the entire scale of the business. Fleet customers, a construction company, a logistics company, a municipal fleet. A large operator may have anywhere from 20 trucks to more than 1,000. One 100-truck fleet account can create roughly $1.5 million to $2.5 million in annual maintenance and parts spending beyond the original truck sale. Then come contract maintenance agreements. Something as simple as 0.12 per operating mile can create recurring service revenue for years. Once a fleet is connected to the dealership's parts delivery system, telematics, repair, scheduling, billing, and maintenance records. Switching dealers becomes difficult. Every driver has to learn another service location. Records need to move, billing systems need to change, maintenance processes have to be rebuilt. That creates something more valuable than a sale: retention. A 100-truck fleet contract isn't just one transaction. It's closer to a long-term subscription that begins with trucks. Then manufacturers add another layer: hidden allowances, volume incentives, local advertising support, training, facility funding. Manufacturers may build roughly 2% to 3% of invoice value into dealer allowances and return that money when the truck sells. Then there are volume bonuses. A dealer reaching 100 units in a quarter might receive around $1,000 per truck across 200 units. That incentive could reach roughly $3,000 per truck, sometimes applied retroactively across the entire quarter. That's why a dealer might sell one truck at almost no margin just before the quarter closes. That final unit may trigger a bonus worth millions across the entire sales period. Manufacturers also subsidize advertising. Technician training, facility upgrades, those aren't random gifts. They're investments in the manufacturer's own distribution network. But none of this eliminates economic risk. Truck demand depends heavily on freight. Freight depends on construction, fuel prices, interest rates, consumer demand, and broader economic activity. When freight slows, fleets stop buying new equipment, unsold inventory increases. Floor plan interest starts eating cash. Used truck values can fall. Inventory write-downs become painful. But something strange happens during the downturn. Older trucks stay on the road longer, and older trucks break more often. That sends additional repair work into the service department. So the two sides of the business can move in opposite directions. New truck sales fall, service revenue rises. That is one of the biggest reasons a strong dealership can survive a weak sales environment. But the risks are still real. There is a serious shortage of certified diesel technicians. A dealership can build 30 service bays and still operate only 15 if it cannot find qualified employees. That cuts the capacity of the most profitable department in half. Then there is interest rate risk. Unsold trucks are financed. If rates rise, the daily cost of inventory rises with them. Manufacturers can also introduce new facility requirements, electric vehicle infrastructure, technology upgrades, building changes. Dealers must either invest or risk their franchise. Warranty reimbursements can also create cash flow problems when the manufacturer disputes labor hours or repair eligibility. And even customer satisfaction matters. Manufacturers track sales experience, delivery experience, service performance. Customer surveys can affect quarterly bonuses. So dealership owners are managing finance, inventory, service, labor, customer experience, and manufacturer relationships simultaneously. The strongest operators solve another problem with scale. Large dealership groups can negotiate better parts pricing, spread administrative costs across many locations, and build regional parts hubs. One central warehouse can feed multiple local dealerships. A small store 50 miles away can offer same-day parts without carrying every component itself. Then some operators expand sideways: mobile repair trucks, trailer repair, bodywork, equipment fabrication, fleet services. Each additional service makes the relationship harder for customers to replace, but the most important number still remains absorption. If service and parts can cover fixed overhead, the dealership becomes much harder to break. Now let's put actual numbers around two possible outcomes. In a strong year, a mid-sized dealership might generate around $15 million in combined gross profit across sales, service, parts, and financing. Suppose fixed overhead is around $10 million. That leaves roughly $5 million in net profit. Now change the environment. Freight demand weakens. Floor plan rates rise. Inventory sits longer. Gross profit falls to around $9 million. Fixed costs remain around $10 million suddenly. The same dealership loses roughly $1 million. That's a $6 million swing between a strong year and a bad year. And here's the part most people miss. Almost none of that swing comes from the showroom alone. It comes from everything behind the showroom. That brings us back to the beginning. A commercial truck dealership isn't really a truck selling business. It's a finance business, it's a service business, it's a parts distribution business, it's a fleet management relationship, and it's a long-term infrastructure network built around commercial vehicles. The truck itself leaves the lot once, but the relationship can continue for years. The financing generates income, the protection products generate income, the repairs generate income, the parts generate income, the telematics generate future service opportunities, the fleet account generates recurring revenue, and the same truck can keep producing economic value long after the original sale has been forgotten. That's the real secret behind successful truck dealerships. They don't simply sell trucks, they build an ecosystem around every truck they sell. The showroom gets the attention, the service department pays the bills, the parts counter keeps the ecosystem moving. Finance creates high margin income. Fleet relationships create long-term stability, and scale turns all of it into a powerful business model. Because the most valuable customer isn't the person who buys one truck. It's the customer who keeps coming back for the next 10 years. Once you understand that, you'll never look at a truck dealership the same way again.